Hello,
Hey,
hello.
how are ya?
Doing good. How about you?
Pretty good.
Your hair looks cute.
Oh, it looks like a mess. I got it up because in between I got to get gardening done. It's the first time in like a week it hasn't rained here.
Yeah, same here. I'm like so behind on my gardening. Like I said last week, I was doing like starting the plants inside. I don't know what's happening. Like they start growing and then they just die off. So I don't know. I need to get my planter boxes going and just get to planting like normal because
Yeah,
this isn't working.
I'm so far behind that a lot of my stuff I'm just starting directly in the garden because things have gotten busy this year. I don't know what happened, but time got away from me, so I'm way behind. And somebody left
Yeah.
the door open down here, and there's a couple flies like buzzing around, and it's driving me crazy. I couldn't find it. I was scrambling before you started this to find a fly swatter. So if you see one and I'm like this, it's because it's driving me crazy, and I don't know where it is.
Yeah, that's funny. That sounds like something that would happen at my house, except for we get like mosquito hawks. There's a ton
Oh,
of mosquito hawks, and well, I mean, it's a good thing because they're they don't hurt you, but um, and then the June bugs are like in full force.
yeah, I don't like
So
those.
I don't either, but apparently Six does because he will go around eating them.
Oh,
And I came home yesterday to like a little vomit pile of just all June bugs, and I was like, buddy,
gross.
you can't be eating that stuff.
Dexter snaps at bumblebees, and I don't know how many times he's been stung in the mouth. 5 minutes later, he'll go right back to doing it. I don't know. It
Oh
must
my
not
God.
bother him. It must not hurt too bad because he doesn't stop.
Yeah, that's crazy. I wouldn't go near a bumblebee. My kids freak out. Excuse
My
me.
thing doesn't stay up.
There you go. Well, anyways, whether you've been gardening or not, I think your hair looks cute today.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So, do you want to tell everybody who our guest is? And
Yeah, so our guest today is a little bit different. Julianne Thorne of Naturally Cats. She's somebody that I've followed for quite a while, and I absolutely adore her and everything that she does. But she's going to give a little different perspective, maybe on some aspects of holistic care for cats that we haven't really touched on. And a lot of it does kind of apply to food and feeding in a roundabout way. So maybe just some additional things for people to think about that maybe they haven't thought about, and things that maybe you can implicate in your own cats or dogs, even, lifestyle.
yeah, I think that's great. As we always say, cats get left out of the whole industry almost, it seems like.
Yeah.
And so it'll be nice to hear what she says. I always am wanting to learn more about, cats and how to treat them holistically. And they're just such sensitive beings and so different than
Yeah.
dogs.
And
I
a
think
lot of
people,
the behaviors, I think, yeah, a lot of the behaviors where cats get labeled as fussy, because you hear that all the time in
yeah,
this community, that cats are fussy. And to me, it's not necessarily fussiness. It's just a part of, how they are, their imprint behaviors. They're kind of neophobic with things where things are new, and they get a little hesitant of new things. But I think some of the things that we can talk about with Julianne are going to really help people to understand maybe how they can help support their cat in that transitional period, and then in general in life.
yeah, awesome.
See here, I'm trying to look.
I didn't see her pop on. She might be running late with a client. But as soon as I see her pop on, I'll try to. I think I have to invite. That's what I had to do last time.
Yeah, I think you do.
Okay. So until she hops on, I know we kind of had a conversation this morning a little bit about your kind of journey on the naturopath. You got certified in what? Oh, there she is. Okay. But before I bring her on, you said that, you were doing Reiki and all that stuff. I don't think a lot of people know that about you, that you have that certification.
Yeah, no, about a year. It was 1 year ago because it was last May that I completed my certification courses to practice and teach Reiki to both animals and people. But focus was on animals because it's a part of the naturopath career that I'm pursuing eventually. But I'm doing it in the very slow, a little here, a little there at a time. It'll probably take me the better part of 6 years to get through it all. But that was a part of it. And so, yeah, that's something that I haven't really done anywhere on a professional scale much, other than a few people that have seen that I have that on my website as a certification that I've acquired. Have asked a few people that have been long-term, like therapeutic clients that were interested in having that. But other than that, it's something I use in my daily life with my own animals all the time.
Yeah.
So we
Awesome.
should get her on.
Yeah. Let me see here. There she is. All right. Hopefully this works. Hi.
Hello. Hello. Can you see me and hear me okay?
Yeah. You're good on my end.
Excellent. How are you both?
Good.
Good.
How
are you doing?
Good, thank you.
So, Julianne, Erin kind of did a small little introduction for you, but why don't you let everybody know who you are, what you do, and we'll go from there.
Cool, thank you. So my name is Julianne Thorne and I created Naturally Cats. I call myself a holistic cat therapist because I used to just do behavior, and then I realized there were so many other things that you could do to support cats. So I'm a cat therapist, and I help people with their cats when they're dealing with problems. So they range from behavioral issues, emotional blocks. I also work with the energy, so I do chakra cleanses, I do cat communication. So I've got a bit of a duality. So I've got a degree in psychology, so I know the behavior bit, but I've also got, like you were saying, Reiki qualifications and work with energy. So that's why, I call it holistic, because I can look at kind of every aspect that affects the cat. And my mission is giving cats a voice. So when I work with all of my clients, it's never about what the human wants. It's always about speaking about the cat and trying to represent them and share what they're thinking and feeling and what they need, which can sometimes get mixed results because, some humans want to do things a certain way. And if you speak from the cat's perspective, it's not always received particularly well.
Yeah, definitely. So can you also tell us a little bit about your cats?
Yeah, sure. So I used to have one called Pickle, and she was really poorly for about 13 years. And she actually led me to train in, using herbs and healing. She led me to train in all the different kind of complementary modalities to help her get well. And she was put to sleep 4.5 years ago. And my two current cats are Leo and Baby Max. I mean, he's like nearly 2, but it'll always be Baby Max.
Of course.
And yeah, Leo used to be, he was feral for the first 18 months of his life. So he was captured by a rescue centre, and the colony that he was part of, they were all going to go to a farm and be like outdoor cats, but also kind of monitored by the humans. And when he was in the rescue centre, they said that he actually showed interest in kind of connecting with humans. So this one girl worked with him for 3 months, and then he was ready to be adopted. He is always a bit flighty. He's always very cautious of people. If it's just the two of us, I'll have cuddles on my chest from him when he wants to. He can be really loving, but my family call him the invisible cat, because as soon as someone rings the doorbell or comes to the door, or he even hears them on the driveway, like, he's gone. Like, you can't even see him for dust, and then the other is Baby Max, who we got as a kitten, although he was about 6 months old, but we got him just not February, just gone, the February before. So he is just he's just pure joy. He just does really silly things, and he's always playing, and They are literally like opposite ends of the spectrum, but they're my babies and I love them.
That's awesome. Yeah, it's so interesting to see. I mean, just like in dogs, but just the personalities are so different from one another. And just like with any other being, you know, you have to treat them as individuals, you know?
Yes.
And
yes.
and it doesn't matter, even if they're 16 years old, they're still going to be our babies. So
absolutely, I'm glad you
totally
said that. Yeah. And the thing is, like with their personalities, it also affects how they eat. You know, like you were saying before, I was trying to get connected. I was listening to you both talk about cats and them being underrepresented, and that is so true. Like, it breaks my heart. It's so true. You know, people come to me and say, do you do dogs? I'm like, no, I'm sorry, but you know, I am just about cats. And the thing is, you know, with the different personalities, you have to see them as unique beings, because otherwise you're going to constantly have problems. You know, if I looked at my two boys, baby Max likes to eat up high. He's always about heights, like ever since we got him. Not just a kitten like climbing the curtains, like he always likes to be up high. So he eats on, it's like an old, like a cabinet type thing, so he eats on top of that. Whereas Leo, he is, some people call it a bush cat. I don't kind of align with that, but he likes to hide away because he was previously feral. Like, he will go into the deepest, darkest space that he can if he needs to feel safe. So he eats on the floor, but he also eats like just down from the back of our sofa. So if suddenly, you know, the doorbell rings and he can't go outside, he'll run behind the sofa, you know. So if I didn't understand that about either of them, I might have issues getting them to eat. You know, yeah. It's you've got to look at what does your cat need, not just what's convenient. You know, so it's, I think it's quite important to understand that. You know.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I can relate to that because I have one who likes to eat up high as well, and he won't eat if you put his food on the ground at all, ever. Like, it could be his favorite thing in the world, but if I put it on the floor, he snubs his nose at it and walks away. Like, he's like, not doing it. Put it up there, lady.
Yeah, totally. I mean, they're unique, but they're also, you know, when you understand what their needs are, they're really easy to meet. You know, like when it comes to food, because I know I've followed you guys for a while, the plates are just, like, I would dream if my boys had plates like that. And you were saying before about, you know, cats being neophobic. You know, when it comes to food, like, that is a challenge. That is a real challenge for people to be able to transition their cats or to introduce new things. But it's not impossible. You know, it's not impossible. But if you understand your cat, like Leo, he doesn't like change, like, at all. The more routine you can give him, the safer he feels, you know. Mm-hmm. So if I was going to introduce, say, I don't know, if I was going to bring in raw duck, it's not just like put it down once and see what he does with it. I would put it next to his plate for like 2 weeks, and he may not do anything with it for like 2 weeks, not even sniff at it, right? But I would do it every day for 2 weeks to give him that consistency. Whereas baby Max, he's a bit more easygoing, so, you know, there's a bit more flexibility. But if you
with Max, did you start feeding him that way from a younger age than Leo, likely, right? Do you think maybe that has a little bit, that might have something to do with it, that behavioral, it's new, it's not like to baby Max, you know, it's been in his life more of his life than it was with Leo, right?
Definitely. So baby Max was fed a mixture of dry food and wet food at the rescue centre, because, you know, over here in the UK, like, it's cheap, they've got to do what they can. I'm sure it's the same way you guys are, you know. It's for sure, it's not raw plates of, it's not beautiful plates of raw food. It's the best they can manage, and I applaud them for that. So we gave baby Max probably about 2 months of the same food, because he was adjusting to the new house and things as well. And then I put a plate of raw down next to his wet, and he absolutely cleaned it. I was like, yes!
And you were jumping up and down.
Yeah. You're one of the lucky ones, for sure.
Yeah. Trust me, it hasn't been that way constantly. So we've had times where, like the last 12 months, he won't eat his raw food. You know, he looks at it and walks away, and I go into panic mode, which obviously doesn't help with stress and my anxiety and things. Mm-hmm. But we have had moments when we've had to go back, you know, I will always be transparent about our food journey. They're not 100% raw all of the time because I'm led by them. And don't get me wrong, I wish they were, and we are still working on that. But like, you know, a few months ago, baby Max wouldn't touch anything. I'm like, all the best wets that we had, different, like everything. And until I put a plate of dry food down, which breaks my heart, you know, he face planted it.
Well,
and with cats,
I mean, if they have to eat, that's just it. So don't let it break your heart. They have to eat, and you're still, as long as you're still trying, that's really what matters.
Yeah. And that's the thing, you know, they will starve themselves. So I've had people say to me, "Oh, just leave the plate down, I'll eat when he's hungry." I'm like, it's not a child, you know, they don't work that way. Cats will literally, like,
we can do that with
themselves.
Dogs, because dogs will eventually eat it. Like if we do that with dogs, they might go a day and not eat, but it's a bigger deal for a cat. And I think people don't kind of differentiate that, because I get a lot of questions about that too, because cats, it's so common, you know, especially if a cat has ever, like if they weren't weaned onto it, it's almost like they don't fully, for a long period, like longer than people think, don't fully trust it.
Yes.
You know, and if you're getting stressed and you're giving off that energy of, oh no, they're not eating. Yeah, that, oh no, they're not eating, because we do that. And a lot of my clients with cats are coming from a place where their cat is medically not sound. You know, the kidneys are starting to fail, and so they're turning to a different diet late in life when there's a medical issue where they've done their homework, and they learn this is what is really good for my cat, and this is what I need to do. Yeah. But then the cat doesn't immediately just like switch, and it very rarely does it go like where a cat just instantly takes to it. It takes time, and then that stresses people out. And I'm constantly trying to like get this into people's brains, like you have to be patient and calm with cats, because if you are stressed, you're gonna prolong that transition.
Yeah.
It's so like people freak out because the cat doesn't, very rarely does a cat just switch cold turkey without a bump in the road. Like I've seen it a handful of times in the like hundreds of cats that I've helped people transition. Very rarely does that happen. And I'm guilty, because I came from that place of my cat needed to switch diets like now because had medical problems, you know? So I did it too, and I'm totally guilty of that. Like it was stressful. I needed my cat to eat something else, and she would turn her nose up at it and walk away for the first, you know, several weeks. It just, but that's the thing, is I think I prolonged that because it stressed me out. So they feel that, right? Like they feel that stress coming from us. And so I think in the cat's brain, that's, you know, they can sense that stresses us. And to them, you know, maybe there's a reason they're associating now you putting that food down and them not eating it with that stress response. Is that how you feel it?
Yeah. Oh my goodness. You're so true. So true. Absolutely. I mean, like you said, you know, as long as you're trying your best in that moment, that's all you can do. So like with baby Max, you know, if he has 4 pieces of kibble, you know, I count it out, hand feed it, and he clears a plate of raw. I'm like, do you know what? Today that's a good day, you know, because he's eating and he's getting the good stuff in him. But you're absolutely right. So our energy, you know, when you walk into a room and someone's had an argument and you think, oh my God, right, you can feel the tension. That's what people say. You can feel it as you walk into a room. That's energy, you know, so you can feel that coming off those people. Not only do you read their body language, you can feel it when you walk in the room. So imagine if you're going up to your cat, and I'm guilty of this, like literally recently with Leo, and you put it down and you're thinking, eat it, eat it, eat it, eat it, you know, like it's like coming off you in like waves. So he's going to be like, woman, like back off, like no chance am I going near that plate of food. So those words are so true. I think a lot of the times I have to, when I speak to my clients and look at myself, I have to remind them and myself to say, do you know what? Take a breath. You know, if you approach it with stress and anxiety and worry, they are going to feel it. If you come to it with, do you know what, bud, here you go. If it feels right, I really would love for you to eat it, and then walk away. And sometimes that's the hard bit, because you want to be watching and I want to watch. And obviously
Mm-hmm.
with two, I've got to make sure it's actually Leo that's eating the plate and not Max.
Yeah,
you know.
yeah, I have that problem.
Yeah. They don't tell you about that when you get two cats. That's the
Yeah.
fun
No.
thing. You know, who's vomited? You know.
Yeah, at one point I had 4, and it
Oh.
was a nightmare trying to keep it straight. And yeah, and none of them wanted to eat in the same. Like, they ate in different locations, but there was 2 that would eat their food, and then if the other one wasn't touching it, would head straight. And I also have a dog, so I can't leave the food because the dog will go and eat it then too.
Definitely.
And then
Oh,
I'm
really?
wondering, like, the cat's meowing at me a lot. Did he actually eat his food, or did somebody else eat his food? Because, you know, I have a life. I can't, like, stare at them all till their plates are clean all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah, that was tough to manage. Yeah, nobody tells you about that part of owning multiple.
No. They just say, like, it's going to be more expensive, you know, double vet visits. They don't tell you about, you know, like, guess the vomit and guess the bad tummy and, you know, things like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Six has had a couple of extra snacks every now and then when the cats step away from their bowls.
Yeah.
So have you got cats as well?
We have one now. We had 3 at one time, and so that was quite a journey trying to get them. They had started on kibble, and it took me like the better part of a year to try to get them to transfer over to raw. And I got them all transferred over to raw, and then they all just went on like this hunger strike for like a day or 2. And I was like, well, I know cats, like, they have to eat. They're not ones that you want to like let this be a prolonged issue. So like I resorted back to kibble, and they started eating again. And that crushed me, but I'm sure, and they felt that tension with me. But what helped me was, we do a lot of hunting here, and so we process our own deer, and they absolutely loved the venison that we had. And so like all of them were very interested in the venison, and that's kind of like what helped us get back onto the raw transition. Is we found out what they were interested in and kept feeding that to them, and then we would slowly introduce something else on top of it, and then before you know it, they're all eating raw and having no problems.
Yeah, beautiful. And that's the thing, like, you know, when you transition a cat to raw, they can have times when they don't accept it or won't eat it anymore. And it, like we said about our anxiety or our energy, is important, but also it's, being understanding that it's, like you said, a blip in the road, right? It's just a moment in time. It doesn't mean that they're going to be on kibble for the next 20 years. Like, it's making peace with the choices. And some cats, not very many, do switch over just like that, but that is rare. I had a client once, we had a call, and they were feeding just dry, and I said, species appropriate, blah blah blah. We talked about food. A week later, we had a second call. She said, oh yeah, they're both on raw. And I'm like, I'm sorry, what? So yeah, we bought a box and put it down, and they've not eaten anything dry since. And I'm like that just really never happens.
Yeah.
It's so rare.
It's funny because I've seen that happen. I've seen that happen mostly with cats that are in kidney failure. Almost like they know that dry food is hard, like that it's hard on their stomach, and it's hard on their kidneys, and it's hard on their digestive system. And it's almost like they taste the moisture-rich food, and they just inherently know that that's better for them, because those are the cats, other than the really young kittens, obviously. But from just my experience, it's those cats that often switch quicker than the cats that don't have a medical reason to have to switch, So I truly believe that they do intuitively know that that's helping their body more so. That's just been my experience with cats.
Yeah, the thing is that that cats know what they need. When I work with remedies, so I use like dried herbs, essential oils, hydrosols, with cats. It's never applied topically. It's never put in their food. It's put down for them to choose. They know what they need. Yeah. So cats will choose what they need within the realms of what they've got. So also there is the sadness around dry food and kibble, so it's covered in flavorings and additives. How do you make something that's 3 times dehydrated appeal to a being that uses its nose? It's covered in things that smell. So you do get cats that are addicted. But also, like, you know, think about what happens with the body. Do you know what I mean? Like the gut biome. I mean, that's not my area of expertise, I'll be honest. You know, I'm just learning about this. But you know, to switch from one straight to the other, it's like humans going from, you know, eating McDonald's or junk food one day and then like green juices the next. Like that's going to affect your body. You've got to have a chance to not kind of detox, but adjust to that, haven't you?
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, it's. I think for me, when I say to my clients in my community, like it's totally doable. And if you're not comfortable feeding raw, that's okay. Feed the best quality wet that you can afford. You know, read your ingredients. The ingredients are so important. Read the labels. Look at what's listed first. You know, try to get grain-free, potato-free. You know, get rid of the carbs in the wet food. And at the end of the day, like add things if you can, you know, add whole foods. You know, my boys have quail eggs, you know, I don't know, 2 or 3 times a week. Now Leo, I barely put the plate down and he's absolutely hoovered it up. Whereas baby Max, sometimes he could take it or leave it, you know. So I think what I thought
of that whole of allowing them to self-select to an extent with what they eat, because I do think they intuitively are going to select the things that they, you know, not just with the herbs and all of that. I mean, I grow an herb self-selection garden for my cats because I just think it's such a valuable thing for them to have, and they do use it. And initially when I planted that garden, I thought, it's a cute idea. Are they really going to use it? And then they love it. Like they love it. So in the winter, I have to recreate like a small version in the house, or they're like, "Where's our plants?" You know.
So let's talk about that a little bit, because like that's new. I mean, obviously some of my supplements are intended for cats as well, but a lot of people don't know like what herbs that they can have and what they do for the cat.
Well, let's let her talk about this, because I think you do an herb garden, dry herb gardens, right? And those are, I love that idea.
Yeah.
So if you can maybe talk about those a little bit.
Sure. So cats, and like a lot of other animals, you know, monkeys, parrots, goats, they can self-select. So it's called zoopharmacognosy, which, you know, means animal medicine knowing. So in the wild, animals will choose what they need to heal. So if a monkey has parasites, it will go and get a certain type of leaf that has got a bug in it and will rub it on their body to get rid of the parasites, just as a rough example. So the theory is, you know, cats can do the same when given the opportunity to do that. So if you've got an indoor cat, they're likely to be chewing at your green plants, right? Whether they're considered toxic or not to cats, if a cat feels that it needs something and that's the only option it's got, it will eat, it will chow down on the plant in the home because it needs, maybe it's the fiber from the leaf, whatever. It might be some of the micronutrients. So if you've got an outdoor cat, again, depending whether they're kind of confined to the garden or they've got access to the wild, they're going to use different things. So, you know, the simple example is like a rose bush. Okay, so if you've got a cat that can go outside and you've got a rose bush in your garden, or the neighbour's got one, you might see your cat sit next to it, sit under it, run past it, then lick its fur. So the cat is working with the botanicals, the compounds from that plant. So like rose is a really nurturing, really emotionally supportive remedy, like for humans, you know, it's like the flower of love, and that's the properties, the healing properties of it. So for me, when I was trying to help Pickle, I did a diploma in cat self-selection because I wanted to support the vet care that she was having because we weren't getting very far. So I learned how to use essential oils and herbs. And when I first saw a cat on a herb garden, oh my God. Do you ever have those moments when like, you hear the angels sing behind you and it's all like, like everything goes, oh! It was like that. I'm like, oh my God, like what is going on? And there was this cat and she was rubbing and rolling around. She was drooling a bit. She was eating some of the herb. She had ripples going down her back. Like it was phenomenal. You know, it rocked my world. So I tried it at home with Pickle. She did exactly the same. She went over to it and she sat with it and she was purring and stretching and, you know. So I decided to try to help other cats with it. So I've got a shop on my website and I sell 10 different gardens. So they are, like you said, dried. They're dried because with fresh, fresh, people are cautious, you know, oh, my cat eats grass and vomits, my cat eats my plants and vomits, you know, lavender is considered toxic to cats. Well, something's only toxic if it's not required by the body. So if I took 5 cocodamol tablets or even 1 cocodamol tablet and I don't need it, it could be toxic on my body, right? So self-selection is about the cat knowing what it needs, and you give the cat the choice. So nothing is added to them, on them, in their food. They go to it if they need it. So with my herbs, like the premise is you get a blanket or a towel, you put it in a lovely quiet space in the home. So not the front room where everybody is, you know, not the hallway where there's a lot of traffic, a nice quiet space. And you put down, so this, each of my gardens come with 6 different dried herbs. I was only packing some today, actually. So like little packets of dried herbs, and you put a bit in each corner, and you let the cat do what they need to. So some cats, like baby Max, he stretches out, he rubs and rolls around, you know, he mixes up the mat. It's beautiful to watch. Leo, I've never seen him on the garden, but I know he uses it because I've come down in the morning and the herbs are disheveled. So he is the type of cat that will only use it when no one else is around. And the reason for that is because cats need to be vulnerable to heal. You know, like if you go to therapy, you know, you need a safe space, right, to be able to open up and to deal with things. Well, cats are predator and prey animals, aren't they? So they're always, even if they're chilled out cats, they're on alert. They're looking for what's going on. So for a cat to heal, to shift emotions, to deal with physical pain, because different herbs help with different things, they've got to have the space to feel safe to do that. So there are some herbs like are my favourite. Catnip's not particularly one, I'll be honest, because not all cats are affected by it. One of my favourites is valerian root, and it smells like sweaty feet. Like, it is, to me the most disgusting.
You described it that way.
To me, it is the most disgusting smell. But I've got a client who drinks valerian tea, and I'm like, serious?
Yeah.
Like, no. So it's a bit pungent. Yeah, it's a bit pungent. Let's say that. But valerian helps with physical pain. You know, so if you've got a cat with like arthritis or, you know, joint issues, it also helps with anxiety. So if you've got a nervous cat, it's brilliant. And you know, when you put it down, despite the room then smelling fresh, the cat, when they go to it, you know, you can see such a beautiful range of signs that they're using it. So they give slow eye blinks, they might twitch, which again is all energy release. They might start to clean themselves, so they're cleaning the energy away. It is beautiful. And for me, like, my mission is giving cats a voice. I said to you guys at the beginning, you know, I speak for the cats, and to have these herbs was another way to do that, to say to the guardians, like, you know, don't come to me and say I've got an anxious cat, I want to stop my cat being anxious. We've got to look at why is your cat anxious? What is causing that anxiety? What is the trigger? What is the reason? What is the environment? Yes, I can give you tools to help them. So we would try an anxiety garden, that's one of mine, but that's only going to do so much, you know, unless you understand the cause of it and remove that or reduce it. You're not gonna help the cat too much. So that's the very, very quick overview of remedies, because I can talk about self-selection for like a whole hour.
Yeah, me too.
For sure. Okay, so for those that aren't able to purchase your herb kits, what are some of like the basics that you would suggest them try out? Because not everybody knows what's safe and what's toxic to cats. That's like a big thing that people are clueless about.
Yeah, absolutely. So I've got 10 gardens, and if you're in the US, Dr. Judy Morgan has my gardens as well. So to save yourself postage in the UK, you don't have to get it from me, you can get it from her.
Awesome.
So I've got 10. So I have a general one, which has got valerian, catnip, calendula, lavender. Now, lavender's really contentious. There are so many resources that say lavender's toxic to cats.
Yeah, and one of my courses taught no lavender for cat. We're like, no lavender for cats. One of the aromatherapy courses that I took taught no lavender near cats. And then another school of thought, I took a different course that was a whole different school of thought. And that one was all about letting lavender be a part. And so I'm like, this is confusing. And my own cat, because I grow lavender, my own cat will lay near the lavender bushes all the time. So I'm thinking to myself, before I ever learned any of this stuff. My cat's been doing this for, you know, a decade, laying next to this bush that we have in our yard, and no harm has clearly come. And he seems very peaceful when he's laying near that lavender. To me, I guess I just kind of intuitively felt like maybe that it is okay for cats, because like you said, it's one of those things you hear both ways with lavender. And I was formally, the first formal education I had on that was like, no, absolutely no lavender for cats, not near them, not around them, nothing, not on them. It was very no. I think I spoke to you about that when you were formulating some of those. Yeah, because I was taught no lavender for cats, and it was like, and then I came to a new course, and it was like I talked to other people that were, you know, doing this for a long time, and they were saying, no, we do use lavender with cats. So it's just, it's very confusing. And I think that is why people get very confused with what is safe and what we can and should use around our cats.
Yeah.
So talk about lavender, because
yeah, please.
I want to hear what you think about lavender.
Yeah. You know, that's exactly it. You know, there is mixed information, and some of it will come from truth, and some of it will come from, you know, a lack of understanding. You know, people, when you see stuff like this in these courses, like, where is that information coming from? Like the way that I was taught about lavender, the way I use it, so nothing that I sell, it's all been tried and tested, like on Pickle, on my boys, you know. And the thing with lavender, it is one of the most highly adulterated essential oils. So we're slightly different to herbs, but it's one of the most adulterated essential oils like on the market, you know, because it's easy, it's cheap and easy to make it fragranced, and, you know, for it not to be pure. So that's where some of this stuff online comes from, because people have diffused it and they've used it and the cats have got sick, right? So again, this is misuse of a remedy. So like, it is toxic because it wasn't used in the way that it should be, which is letting your cat do what it needs to do. I love lavender, like, not personally, the smell myself, not for me again, but with cats, it's beautiful. Whether it's essential oil compound or whether it's the herb, it's lovely. Like you said, your cats are on it, they're zoned out, they're happy. Yes, because it's calming, and the properties that it has for humans is exactly the same for cats. So if you're using it with self-selection, it's not toxic. You know, chamomile, peppermint, lavender, valerian, catnip, like, none of it is toxic if you're letting your cat choose. If you're diffusing every day, yes, you're going to potentially have issues. You know, cats lack a particular enzyme to process toxins in their body. So in my experience, in the way that I was taught, I don't generally diffuse essential oils because it can lead to toxicity buildup in cats. However, you know, I've got colleagues and friends who do diffuse. The cat can go outside, you know, they do it once a week or so, you know, so there are benefits to it. I've got an asthmatic cat, so I don't use a lot of products in the home. So lavender is very much like rose. Unfortunately, it's heavily adulterated. So if you're using something that is like that, it could be toxic because you don't know what else is in there. You don't know what else is being used to make it fragranced, because, you know, fragrance is synthetic. So the cat, you know, biologically speaking, for hundreds and hundreds of years, doesn't know how to process it because it's never been exposed to those chemicals, because that's what essentially it's made of. So is lavender toxic to cats? In my opinion, no, if you use it alongside self-selection principles. If you're and if you use a high quality organic oil, essential oil, or organic herbs. So like, all of my herbs are all organic, because again, you don't want any additional chemicals or toxins, you know, to expose your cat to them.
Brilliant. Awesome. Yeah, and that is one of the reasons why, Erin, I talked to you, because you were like my cat lady, you know. And I originally had lavender in a couple of my supplements that were intended for both dogs and cats. And, you know, I got the conflicting information too. And I think what you and I, Erin, had decided on was that cats are such sensitive beings, and they're such individuals, that it could be toxic to some cats while others may tolerate it. So I ended up choosing just removing it from the formulas, just to be, you know, on the safe side. Because, you know, like you said, the cats are going to select what they want and what they need.
Yeah.
And so if not every
and that
cat
was kind of my
that.
issue is like if we're purposely giving it to them in something and on their food, that's not giving them the choice of whether or not to ingest it or not. And that was where I think the bigger issue fell with that, is that I feel like, and there's a lot of plants and a lot of, you know, things that we can use medicinally with dogs and cats that work really well, but they are things that I truly believe should be only used on a self-selection basis. We should allow them to decide whether or not they want to use that.
Yeah, that's the thing with, you know, like, I love supplements. You know, I take supplements for myself. Do you know what I mean? Like, you know, and when we've got a poorly cat or a cat that's in some physical way, you know, under their optimum, absolutely, you know, let's offer things and see what we can do to support them. Like you saying, you know, if you're in doubt, leave it out. You know, don't put it in the supplements and things. And I mean, I never even registered. A friend of mine said a few years ago, you know, whatever supplements like I'm taking, she's like, you do have a break, don't you? I said, what do you mean? So you know, you do kind of like just stop using it for a while. I'm like, oh, no, I just think I should take it, so I take it. And she's like, no, you know, give your body a chance to kind of like recalibrate. And I think that's the same with cats. So if we're giving supplements in food or you know, additives, whatever, like sometimes that's the reason why cats will walk away from food, you know, because they don't need it. So that you're going up to it, they're like, oh no, thank you, and they walk away. Other times you'll have cats that'll go straight into it because they know that we're putting stuff in their food that they need, you know. So cats are so wise, and I can't speak for dogs because I don't work with them. I'm not against dogs or anything like that at all. Not at all. But if we watch our cats, we can learn a lot from them. You know, they will show us what they need if we pay attention, you know.
Absolutely. Yeah, dogs are similar. Dogs definitely know. I mean, I incorporate all that self-selection with my dog too, and he's got his own thing. I mean, we even go so far as to give him a selection of different water in the house. I mean, I'm that crazy person that's got like 4 bowls down with like different types of water for him. But it's interesting to me because he will go specifically to what he needs. And it's like if he's stressed, like we do, I put out a water that has like a concentrated seawater, which is really high in magnesium. And if he's stressed or something has happened through the day that I can tell he's stressed, he'll specifically drink only that water every single time. So you can say what you want. I can see it with my own eyes that they intuitively know what they need, you know? Yeah. And I find it fascinating to watch. So, I mean, I just think a lot of people don't, like we are so busy and so wrapped up in like everything with our lives that I think a lot of people just don't take the time to slow down. And if we really listen and watch what they often are telling us exactly what they need and exactly what they want with their diet and everything, you know. It just, we live in this fast-paced world where everything's, you know, just go. If we slow down and watch and listen, a lot of times some of the issues that people are coming to me regularly with their cats and their dogs with eating, it relates back to that. Just back up for a second and listen to what they're saying to you when you put that food in front of them. Like with cats, I've had people tell me their cats won't touch raw, but then I'll say, send me a picture of what you're feeding. And then they'll send me a picture of a decent food in a bowl that's like tall, but a cat doesn't want to stick their face down into that bowl. I'm like, literally dump it out and see. And you know how often when somebody dumps it out onto a flat surface, the cat instantly goes for that food. It's just, you know, like you say, cats are these animals that they want to see the line of sight around them when they eat. Putting that face down into that bowl is just an uncomfortable feeling for a cat. One, the whiskers, of course, the whisker stress. But two, it's just not natural for them. And if you put food in a bowl, half the time a cat will take it, pull it on the floor, and then eat it on the floor so that they can be in that crouched position where they can see their surroundings and they feel comfortable enough to eat the food. Maybe they weren't opposed to the food, but the way you're presenting it was uncomfortable to them.
That is exactly what Leo did. Oh, sorry, my love, go on.
No, you're okay. I was just going to say that was like, I'm totally guilty of doing that. I feed my cat out of a bowl. And then whenever we had that discussion earlier on about the whisker stress and stuff, that made so much sense. And if I do feed him in a bowl, he'll drag his food out and even like take it around the corner and go eat it wherever he feels comfortable. So again, I feel like the average cat owner doesn't know these things. So I love having you ladies here talk about this, because it's such simple, intuitive things that we just don't think about that, make sense for our cats.
Yeah. But like you said, you don't know what you don't know. I thought when I first got Pickle, 15 years ago, free feeding dry food was the way, right? Because that's what my parents had done. So I thought that was what we should do. So, I think that's why it's lovely for us to get together to talk about cats, to share this with people. Because when I first got Leo, we used Pickle's old bowls, and they weren't like deep bowls. They were kind of, shallow with like ribs at the sides. And he walked up to it a couple of times and he wouldn't eat. And of course, I'm stressing already because I'm like, he's new and da. I'm a bit of a stressor with my babies. And then he did start to eat, and he would pick it up and go to the corner of the room and eat it. I'm like, buddy, well, that's just grubby on the carpet. What are you doing?
Yeah.
And then I read about it, learned about it. I'm like, oh, okay. Whisker sensitivity, like saying whisker stress. I only learned about that like 4 years ago, and now he has plates, like our tea plates, type plates, china, ceramic, and he eats off it, right, beautifully. And then I learned about colour therapy a few years ago, and I wondered why some plates he would eat the same food and some plates he wouldn't. And then I'm like, oh, okay. So I learned that a red plate, for example, or versus like a yellow bowl plate, they make his food taste different. Like, how would you like that just kind of blows my mind. But I think the little things, like you said, Erin, when we watch them, they tell us, one of the pieces of advice that I share with people is like food and water bowls. Again, society's like, oh, here you go, here's 2 bowls next to each other, put food in one and water in the other. Well, a cat in the wild would never drink from a water source near a fresh kill, near their prey, because it's likely to be contaminated with bacteria. So they will eat here and then drink over here. So, I say to clients, like, where is your water bowl? My cat's not drinking. Like, where's your water bowl? Oh, right next to the food bowl, right next to the kibble bowl. I'm like, they're not going to go anywhere near it, because, psychologically, they think that it's already, before even approaching it, there is bacteria in there. So the little tiny things that we can do can make a huge difference. And if we watch them, it blows my mind. I mean, like Erin, like you said, life is so busy. Isn't that the truth? Like, I have to consciously make time in my diary to watch my boys, connect with my boys, like doing communication with them, or any energy clearing work. I thought I would do it when I thought they needed it, but actually I realized that my priority is helping others. So like recently Leo's been a bit off his food, so I've done a bit more communication with him, and he's sharing stuff with me that like is completely around what you're saying, like be present, be still, find more time to kind of calm down them and be chilled and stuff, and whenever I share what he has to say, he goes and clears a plate of food. So I spoke with my sister this morning about him and how my energy was and how I was feeling and how I wanted to shift it. And he went and cleared his breakfast. And Thursday night, I go live every week on my page and share a cat chakra cleanse session with everybody. And at the end of last week, I shared a bit about Leo, and he hadn't eaten most of the day. And then I went downstairs and he cleared a plate. So it just like, it may be coincidental, but I do believe that our energy and emotions affects them. And if we watch them and take the time to learn a little, we can really help them thrive.
Yeah, I love everything about you, what you just said.
Thanks.
Yeah, I do too. Again, it's, the energy that we put off, we don't realize that it affects everything and everybody around us. Yeah. And I would kind of like to dabble into the Reiki energy. What can you describe what that is for people?
Erin, do you want to go, or do you want me to talk to it?
Right ahead. Okay. You're the guest.
Yeah.
Thank you. So for me, like, Reiki is slightly different to energy healing, because I did healing with Pickle before I was even attuned to Reiki. So I was sat on the sofa with her. I was kind of like, God, not as in like religiously, but for goodness sake, just let me heal her. And my hands got really hot. And when we checked her blood glucose, like, it was the lowest I've ever seen, because she was diabetic. So I believe that everybody has the capacity to heal and to use the universal energy to heal them. There are some people that don't believe in that, and they believe in Reiki specifically. There are, you know, different schools of thought. My understanding is, like, Reiki is about energy manipulation and using it for the highest good for all, as is intention. So if you're attuned to Reiki, brilliant. You know, you were kind of given the capacity to feel the energy when in a kind of an easier way, because, you know, you've been attuned to it, you can feel it and sense it. But I also do believe that everybody can feel the energy and connect with their cat. So, and that may not be the opinion of everybody, I appreciate that. So for me, like, energy is key. Energy is actually the foundation underneath physical health. So if there's a physical imbalance, if there's a physical issue, there's been an energy imbalance for a while before that. You know, so if you think about like a stream, you know, you've got beautiful running water. That's how energy, you know, should flow in, like, our cats and ourselves. And sometimes something may happen. So, like, if I had building work in the house, that's going to put a pebble into Leo's stream of energy, right? And the water's still going to flow around it. But if I don't do energetic support with him, or balance his chakras, which are the core energy centers in the body, then, yeah, there's going to be build-up. There's going to be like mold and debris that's going to build up around that stone, and it's going to get bigger. And then his energy's got to work even harder to go around it. I hope I'm not losing people. So my understanding is, you know, it's all about the energy. So if the energy's flowing well, the physical body is in good condition. You know, Leo, he's constantly, let me rephrase that, be careful what I manifest. He's frequently ungrounded. He's frequently ungrounded because his upbringing, his exposure when he was in those formative months impacted him. We talked about he runs outside. So I will regularly offer him healing, and that can look like either we were on the bed earlier, I meditated because one of my calls was cancelled. I was like, right, I've got this, and this. Great, I'll get meditation in. He came and laid on my feet. So that's no surprise to me, because Leo needs to be grounded. So he lays at my feet when I'm meditating, right? So that's not a coincidence that he's there in that spot of my energy, right? And then when I finished, my hands were warm. So I said to him, buddy, would you like some healing? And he sort of stretched and moved a bit. So I put my hands on him. So I'm a hands-on healer. So some people will have like the hands, like, you know, at a distance.
Yeah.
And some people will have their hands on. It depends on the healer. It depends on who you're sharing energy with or giving energy to. So we had hands-on healing, and it was beautiful. You know, I could feel it coming through me. It doesn't come from me. It's not my energy. Okay, it comes from depending on what you believe, but Reiki or the divine, the universe around you, and then it goes to where your intention is. So you can do it that way with hands-on, or you can do it remotely. So when I work with clients and do a chakra cleanse, I have a picture of them on my computer, and it's almost like I'm tuning like a radio to find a frequency. So I look at the picture of the cat, find their frequency, kind of connect with them. And then I'm an empath, so I'm able to feel what the cat feels. So if a cat's got an upset tummy or a blocked solar plexus chakra, which is in the tummy area, sometimes I get cramps or really uncomfortable. You know, I've had a cat that had a blocked throat, so I couldn't swallow when we were working together. And then again, as if they were here with me, I'm able to shift their energy and to remove the blockages and things. So energy's, I don't know, it for me, it's everything. You know, like I said, I left my corporate job as a benefits manager 3 years ago, called myself a behaviorist, and then was like, oh God, no, do you know what? There's so much more. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. And I loved your analogy with the stone and the stream. Like, it totally makes sense. And I mean, all life is energy. Everything is energy. So that totally makes sense to me. And I hope it does to everybody else too.
Yeah.
Thank you for explaining that. That's so interesting.
My pleasure. My pleasure. All of these topics about cats, I could talk for hours. Like I said, you'll have to have me back.
Yeah, I would love to have you back. I mean, we're coming in on an hour, and I know you have clients to see after this. But I think, Erin, you're already on board. We would love to have you back to discuss this
absolutely.
kind of further at a later date.
Brilliant. I'd love to come back. It's been great to chat. Thank you for having me.
All right. Well, I guess we'll probably go ahead and end this. I don't mean to do it so abruptly, but like I said, you have clients to go see, and I don't want to hold you up from that. But thank you so much, Julianne, for coming on and sharing your knowledge and your experience with us. And we'll be in touch to have you back on later. Everybody that's watching, like always, we'll share this to our YouTube channel after we post it here. It's The Raw Truth. And if everyone can like and subscribe to it, that would be very helpful for us getting all this information out to other pet parents and start healing other pets. So until next week, everybody have a great day, great week. And if anybody has any questions or comments, please leave them over on the YouTube channel. All righty. Bye, ladies.
Thank you for having me. Thank you for having me. Bye
Thank
for now.
you.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you, guys.
Bye.